What is happening, people? Welcome back. Hope you're keeping well. It is Manchester United versus Tottenham this weekend. Big game, and it should be a good one. And this is your combined 11 video. I'm joined by United fan Dan. Dan, how you doing?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. I might be rusty, so I'm going to apologise to your listeners. I've stopped doing YouTube now, but obviously, when Harry Scarfe calls up, you can't reject it, can you? So
Thank you very much. It's very, very kind of you, and I'm very grateful. Although you have stopped YouTube, for people that may still be interested in your stuff or just want to follow you for your takes, where can people follow you on social media?
just Twitter. It's still under as Dan Talks Footy, but yeah, apart from that, there's nothing else where I'm involved with YouTube anymore or TikTok or anything like that. So yeah, just Twitter. If it's Dan Talks Footy.
Great stuff, Dan. Thank you very much. And of course, we have collaborated, several occasions. I went back and had a look the other day since 2023. So
Bloody hell.
fantastic. So, yeah, I know. It's been quick, isn't it? So good to collaborate with you once again. I mean, both teams have been on roller coaster journeys, often on downs, but we can always look at the positives. But Dan, thank you for your time and welcome into everyone that is listening. So for people who don't know, what this is about, haven't listened before, don't remember the format. So how it works is we both have made two teams, two combined 11s, both following the same, but one is with, if everyone was available, that's with the first one, if everyone was available, which both managers would love, and the second one is more relevant and current to now, just players that are fit. So, for example, we cannot include Dorgu and Porro, for example, who are both injured in that one. So we are going to start with the one with just fit players, because, like I said, there is relevant. And Dan, if we start with yours, if you could read it through 1 to 11 and talk through your decisions.
Yeah, so I went with the 4-2-3-1 formation. For me, I put Le Mans in net, Dalot at right back, Maguire and Van de Ven as the centre backs. Now, Van de Ven's, we spoke before the show, that Van de Ven should be fit for this game, which is going to be hard for United, I think. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. Luke Shaw at left back, Casemiro, Mainu, and Bruno Fernandes in midfield. For me, it's a pure United midfield. I know this is not his natural position, but Xavi Simons on right wing, Mateus Cunha at left wing, and Brian Mbeumo as my striker.
Great team, Dan. Thank you very much. So, talk us through then, starting with the goalkeeper, your thinking behind these decisions.
Well, right, so I take back to, I can't remember what year it was, but basically, the year De Gea left United, I was looking for my channel as well for goalkeepers and scout reports and stuff, and I scouted Vicario when he was playing in Italy, and I really, really liked the look of him. And when he first played in that first season under Postecoglou, he looked really, really good. But I just feel like that over last season and this season, whether that's due to Spurs form, the injuries and stuff, I just think his reputation has just decreased a lot. And Le Mans has changed United this season. I mean, when you've been watching Onana and Biende for the last year and a half, mate, honestly, I mean, when I still go to the games, the crowd clap when he actually comes for a cross. The crowd clap when he actually makes a decent save where he doesn't go through his hands. Like, Le Mans has changed United, and you can tell with our backline as well that the amount of confidence and trust that they have in him is just different. And with the way Vicario's been this season, for me, it's Le Mans all day. Dalot, obviously, this is based off fit players. Dalot's not my favourite United player. I'm not going to shy away from that. I think he's very, very average, but at the same time, Mazraoui's not played a lot this season. Dalot has a great mentality. He's very well liked, and he's one of the senior players in the dressing room. But obviously, I feel like his mentality is why he starts so much, because he has got a great mentality, but so do I. But you don't see me playing for Manchester United, so it's one of them. Luke Shaw as well. I think Luke Shaw is United's only player this season that has played every single game, and the fact that Shaw has had so many injury issues over the years, a lot of fans are saying it's a conspiracy because he wants to go to the World Cup, because when Luke Shaw plays for England, he's one of the most liked players. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant for us internationally. But for United as well, he's been really good. Obviously, for the majority of the season, he played left centre back under Ruben Amorim. But since Michael Carrick and even Fletcher for them 2 games, when they took over, Luke Shaw's looked very, very comfortable at left back. There's been a few cases where he's struggled a little bit, but I still think that Luke Shaw's very, very good. The back line for me speaks for itself. Van de Ven, I mean, for me, he's probably one of my favourite players that doesn't play for Man United in the league. I think he's way better than Romero, but obviously I'm not a Spurs fan, and that might be disagreed. But yeah, I love Van der Ven. I think he's absolutely mustard. And Maguire, I really like Maguire. I feel like that his turnaround for his United career as well. I mean, for probably the last 2 years now, he's completely resurged himself. He's been absolutely class. And I'm absolutely buzzing to have Maguire. And obviously, I want him to extend his contract because he is out of contract at the end of the season. But yeah, I love Harry Maguire for his leadership and his experience. I might as well speak about the midfield as the three as a whole because it's all United players. But Casemiro and Bruno, especially considering they were playing their double pivot under Ruben Amorim as a midfield too, they really, really struggled. But when Amorim was starting to change to a back four towards the end of his tenure, and since Michael Carrick and Fletcher, we've just seen them play at their best. And obviously, Kobe Mainoo coming back into the side. I was going to go for Basuma over Kobe Mainoo based on playing time, but then I looked at Basuma and he's hardly played for you this season. I don't know what's happened there. But as far as that, when I watched him at Brighton and when he first started playing for Spurs when you first signed him, I thought he's always been a wicked player. But yeah, obviously I've got to back Mainoo because when he has played, apart from that horrible Grimsby game, he has been 7 out of 10 at the lowest. So yeah, I'm really happy to see Mainoo back in the side. Xavi Simons, I gave him a lot of stick at the start of the season, and I was excited for Spurs when he first joined. But I watched him in that Man City game, and I don't know if that's just recency biased or something, but he absolutely, that was his game. He looked like the best player on the pitch. He was absolutely class, and he's that techie little midfielder or winger, should we say? And yeah, I really like Xavi Simons. I wanted him at United when we were linked to him under Ten Hag when he was like, I think he was around 19, 20 years old. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think Xavi's a very good player. Cunha's been very disrespected, I think, by a lot of rival oppositions like your Cities, your Liverpool fans
Absolutely.
and stuff. Because he's not got a lot of goals and assists for us, but I mean, he's on 6 goals and I think 3 assists this season. But the thing is, the upgrade from Garnacho to him is just leaps and bounds. It's like replacing me with Usain Bolt for a 100-meter dash. Like it's absolutely just yeah. Cunha, I absolutely love him. He's the maverick of the team. He's got that flair about him. Like yeah, I absolutely love Cunha. And in Mbumo as well. I feel like in Mbumo's a tricky one because United have got this is why I was going to put Ahmad at right wing but obviously, I didn't want to get a Spurs player in, but for your audience as well, I wanted to be fair. And I feel like that Xavi has been, for Spurs individually, he's been better for Spurs than Ahmad has been single handedly for United. Now, Ahmad works in our system, but individually, I would give it to Xavi Simons personally. But in Bumo, I think he really suits that striker position, but it's hard because United have signed Seshko for such high price. And yeah, but in Boomo for me takes it because you've had a lot of injuries, haven't you?
Okay, Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I think you explained that very well. Do you know what? I've got nothing really to challenge you on because I think you explained that really well. So do appreciate it. And there is, of course, Spurs representation in there. And sometimes we do these combined 11s. I done one the other day and there was, just one Spurs player, for example. So I appreciate, you've been totally honest with there and, putting a couple in there, of course, Van der Ven as well as Xavi Simons. So Dan, thank you very much. That's Dan's team if just fit players. So it's this is the situation that both managers face this weekend. Here is mine then, and I'll read it out and talk you through. Sen Lamon's also in goal. At fullback, Dallo and Spence and Romero and Van der Ven as the centre backs. Then Casemiro and Mainoo in midfield. And then I've got Mbamo at right wing, Cunha at left wing, Fernandez in the 10, and Sesko up front. So a couple of less Manchester United players in defence, but one more in the attack. So again, I'll talk you through as well. Sen Lamons, I think, is a fantastic goalkeeper. I'm glad you mentioned it from an outside point of view. Seems like a very massive, huge upgrade, if I'm honest with you, on we had in Anana. Ultimately, I think it's a big upgrade. I think he's done a fantastic job. I like Vicario. I've defended him a lot, but in reality, he's one of those that is, he's an okay goalkeeper. He's decent, whereas Sendermont is a very good goalkeeper. So again, it's just that little bit of a next step up. I wouldn't label him as world class, but I think he's been very good. Diego Dallo, I mean, is always one that I personally liked, but you listen to United fans, they know best. Ultimately, it's their player, and they don't, there is a lot of criticism coming his way. So I'm sure that is warranted. From wherever I watch him, I do quite like him. I think there's a lot of similar mistakes that he makes, but I like how adaptable he can be. Spence as well on the left hand side. I think those fullbacks, they're interchangeable, and I like that. Maguire, really happy for him. It was horrible to see the stick that he got from United and rival fans, in the past, and the mistakes. You never like to see Maguire like that. I think he's a decent defender for club and country, and right now I think he's really enjoying his football, and that's what you want any player to experience. So for me, he's very unlucky not to be in this team. I have gone with Romero and Van der Ven, which is of course is never a good look when you 14th in the table, but Van der Ven I think is class. You mentioned that. Romero I really like. I think he's been a good captain, and I just think he's led by example. I think he's not perfect, Romero, but I do really like him. But again, I recognise the bias comes into it. I really like Iappolini. I think he's been fantastic this season. So, and he is available. So to not get him in there, it feels tough. But in reality, we've got to realise that Casemiro has been fantastic. And I'm surprised to see him leave at the end of the year. But again, you don't want to go too far and kind of sabotage it. And there's one point where with Casemiro, it looked like his days were numbered. You remember in particular what Carragher said in terms of leaving the football before you leave you, and he addressed that recently, acknowledging he got that wrong. In other words, Casemiro has completely, basically gone against and proved everyone wrong, because Carragher's analysis can be quite good, and Casemiro ultimately proving him and several others in the media and football fans wrong. So fair play to him, great player. We know he's a good player, but he's still got it even at this age. Kobbie Mainoo looks like a completely different player. Who would have thought it? Of course, predicted when Amarin went, and a lot more minutes, which he deserves, and he's playing some really good football. So as far as he keeps going, then national football's coming his way as well. He's doing a fantastic job. Then in front of him, Bruno Fernandes for me was the first pick on this team. I mean, that was literally the first player that I put in. I don't need to say too much about him. Star player. And I don't think he gets the recognition still he deserves from football fans. I think he did at the start, not now. And I have this conversation. And when I say that Bruno Fernandes for me is the playmaker I would have out of anyone in Europe, a lot of people will laugh at me. And I have this conversation in college, and a lot of people would say, oh, I'd have so over Fernandes. I wouldn't. A lot of people say, oh, Odegaard and players like this, for me, they don't come anywhere close. Fernandes is a fantastic captain. You can play him anywhere in the midfield and he can do a decent job, and he carries United. And the only reason now it's not recognised as much is because others are stepping up, I think, with a new manager. But for so long, he's remained loyal and carried United in my view. So I think he's by far your best player and one of the best players, if not the best in the Premier League. I would go that far. I think he's that talented and that consistent as well. That's the thing. Having talent's one thing, but consistency is the other. I argue Fernandes consistent most other weeks, and if he isn't, he boom responds straight away. And Mbeumo and Cunha, two fantastic players. Two players I wanted at Tottenham. If I'm honest with you, Cunha was at Wolves, and when Mbeumo when he was at Brentford, unfortunately didn't land both. Didn't really mount a challenge for both, which is of course disappointing. Absolutely. But Cunha, I agree with you. I'm glad you mentioned that again. Someone that disrespected in my view as well by football fans, and someone that's just a class player. And again, starting to get a tiny bit more credit now. Now he's got a couple of screaming goals and looked to even better, stepped it up. And Cunha's one of those risk-taking players. He take risks, and when it doesn't come off, he looks like he's not a good player. But in reality, he's really confident and almost arrogant, but in a good way player. He'll try things that others wouldn't. He's a daring player, and I really like that. And United need that, and they've breath of fresh air for them. And Mbeumo's clinical, he's good. He's sometimes always not his pace on his side, but again, a really clever player and tough to beat. So those two do get in the team. I like Xavi Simons, but for being realistic, he's only played well in 2026. Mbeumo and Cunha have been doing it for the majority of the season, even through those trickier times at the start of the season under Ruben Amorim, where things weren't perfect. They weren't awful, but not perfect. Benjamin Sesko, though, to contradict myself a little bit, again, 2026 has been his year, not necessarily before that. When you pay the big bucks, there's going to be an expectation on you. You get that with a lot of players, unfortunately. I don't think it's their fault with the price. It should be taken out, if anything, on the owners. But with Sesko, for me, it's a case of time, and goals, are everything for strikers. So he's got a couple of goals recently. Big winner against Fulham, swivel and turn. That's the amount of confidence. And I don't know about you, Dan, but I thought his first touch had actually maybe killed the chance a little bit. I was thinking, defenders got back, but he's just so composed. And it was a great finish, a moment of madness. And it really impressed me as well, generally under Carrick, how you've gone for the throw at every moment, attacking till the end, really bold. And I think United of old wouldn't have beaten Fulham, potentially lost and thrown it away at the end. Similar situation at Arsenal at the Emirates as well. So this is a new United type of seeing, and the players, in particular attacking players, doing really well. But that is my team. I think there's one more Spurs than United than you had. So anything you want to mention, Dan, that you disagree with?
Not really. I mean, I'll come out in the open and say I didn't want Benjamin Sesko when we first signed when he first signed for United, but he is growing on me. I do like what he represents. I do feel like that he is definitely a confidence player, and yeah, he is growing on me, and I am liking more and more of what I see. I think that when he bulks up a little bit more, for me, my biggest criticism on Sesko is that he's not nasty enough. Like it's like he'll get tackled and he will have that bite to win it back. Like he'll accept it almost. And if Romero and Van de Ven are fit for tomorrow's game, I'm pretty sure that they will have Sesko in their pocket, and it'd be like playing with 10 men. So this is where I would probably start. So, like if I was starting, I'd choose Carrick starting 11. I would have him Bumo, Ahmad, Cunha, and Bruno as the front four. Only because I feel like that Romero's probably got Sesko when it comes to being in the air, and Van de Ven's got him for pace all day. So I just feel like unless Sesko improves and becomes this nasty striker overnight, where he's got that poacher's instinct. Like he's got a great finishing abilities. He's great technically. He's got great aerial ability as well. I absolutely do admire what he's got in his locker because I mean he's a 6'5" striker. He can dunk a basketball. I mean, you know, he's not like he plays NBA. It's on MUTV and stuff. I with him like training with Joshua Zirkzee and stuff. But yeah, I just feel like that Sesko just hasn't been as good this season, but again, he's a young striker, and yeah, he is growing on me personally. But apart from that, I mean, Jed Spence as well. I do like Jed Spence. I said to my dad this was years ago when he was at Middlesbrough, and I really wanted him, and he was available for like 12 million or something. I don't know how much Spurs paid for him, but he was literally available for peanuts, and I really wanted him because United had, I think it was Malacia playing at left back at the time, or maybe Luke Shaw. I'm not too sure, but yeah, Jed Spence I'm a massive admirer of. I didn't think he was available, to be honest.
Thank you, Dan, very much. Yeah, he's available. Well, it's a 50-50, so I've, maybe broken rules a little bit because it's not a definite, but in Frank's words, it's a 50-50 and it'd be a last-minute assessment. I'm hoping he is because Porro is out, Davis out, so it'd mean that we put Archie Gray at right back, and I like Gray, don't get me wrong, but that's square pegs and round holes, and that's not, I don't think, the best thing for Tottenham against an informed United side. But Dan, if we move on then to your second team, if everyone was fit, so don't talk us through the ones that are the same from the teams. If you can talk us through the changes in there, if possible.
Yeah, so I Porro comes in for Diogo Dalot compared to my everyone's fit team. I really like Pedro Porro. I mean, I think he's a great attacking fullback. Obviously, defensively, he has got his criticisms, but I love his passion, mate. Honestly, I think that like I've watched him like in a few games for Spurs and stuff over the years, and I just think he's an absolute laugh, and he just plays with pure passion. I really like him. Polina, I mean, I wanted him when he was at Bayern Munich, and when I found out he was available on loan, I thought he'd be a great advocate for a Casemiro long-term replacement, and you can say sort of a mentor for Kobe Mainu. And I feel like that when he was previously in the league and when he's come back as well, I just think he's a class player. Honestly, I mean, it was Fulham that he was at, wasn't it? And I just feel like that with Polina, he's just one of them players that goes under the radar. He's not the flashiest and most nicest player to look at, but he does the simple jobs. And yeah, for me, he definitely gets into my team. And obviously, even if you wanted to sort of imagine it being in real life, the Bruno and Polina connection, with them both being Portuguese, could really help out and be a very balanced midfield three. And then obviously, Kulusevski replaces Siemens for my team. I mean, I don't know if I'm thinking of Kulusevski from a few years ago when he was at Juventus, but I thought he was absolutely wicked. Same with Atalanta as well. I thought that, yeah, Kulusevski was a class player, and I believe he plays more of a 10 or more centrally for use when he's actually played him recently. But I don't know if that was under Postecoglou because I'm not really seeing much Kulusevski this season. But based on reputation and the way I see Kulusevski, he definitely plays at right wing for me.
Dan, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I didn't address it earlier, which is my bad. You mentioned, didn't you, Basuma earlier? And some context on that. It's more what happened off the pitch. So it was to do with, second repeat incident of him inhaling laughing gas. So he was suspended by the club for a single game, but it's the second time it's happened. And then he also turned up late to training, which is another suspension for a game by the club and a fine. So it's more what he's doing off the pitch in his spare time and his commitment that's been an issue. And then he was injured on top of that. So already, when your manager comes in and you're late to training, you have a repeat incident, and then twice under Frank, you had that incident. Three things he's done like in the first 2 or 3 months since he joined. That's not a good look. And then he goes and gets injured. So he's only been played now. Make no mistake about it, because nobody else is available. I think he'd be really quickly out the door in the summer. He wasn't out the door in January because Frank didn't want anyone else to leave. So just to address that one. But thank you for talking through the changes there. I think that's a good team. A lot of people look at this team and go, oh, someone like a profile of James Maddison, but really, let's be real. Someone like Kulusevski, Cunha, Mumbai, they are more consistent than Maddison. I like Maddison, and when he's on his day, superb. But it's the consistency, I think, that why it's difficult to put him in this team. I think that's very fair. I appreciate that, Dan. If we move on then to my team, and I'll need to remember what changes are made. So changes then. Pedro Porro, of course, is currently injured. I really like him. Spurs fans use him as a bit of a scapegoat, but not long ago on their hands and knees to sign him. So I think a bit of calmness is needed on that one. Being patient. Same with Shaw. I think you mentioned playing a lot of games. Porro's played every game but one for Tottenham Hotspur in every competition. There's going to be fatigue. There's going to be mistakes, and fans have to accept that. It doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means, in fact, I think he's a good player. He's been relied on so much. So I don't view those little niggly mistakes as anything major. Of course, it's frustrating when similar things are repeated, but he's creating us a lot of chances, even if he is making a few mistakes. So Porro is the change there. Backline, Romero, Van der Ven, and Spence is the same. In this team, then, I mean, make it make sense because Paulini is fit, but I have gone for him in this team. And again, it's just, it's not to do with necessarily Mainoo or Paulini, because it's very tight. In the previous team, I did go with Kobe Mainoo, but in this team, I was thinking Paulini potentially could link up a little bit with someone like Kulusevski, form a partnership. They haven't actually played together yet. So it was a tough one for me. And it was literally, in my opinion, a 50-50 between Mainoo and Paulini. As what I've done is I give one for one team and one for the other, because I literally couldn't decide. So the only changes being Porro, Paulini, and also Kulusevski coming in on that right hand side, and Benjamin Sesko has been taken out, and Mbamo in that false nine role, which I think he's capable of doing absolutely. And again, can interchange with Mateus Cunha. I think can also do a job there. So that's quite nice. Kulusevski as well, false nine for Spurs in pre-season, got a couple of goals there. So Dan, anything to say about my team? 3 changes there for me with Porro, Paulini, and Kulusevski coming in, 3 Spurs players.
No, I think the only change to our teams is Shaw for Spence, isn't it? So it's quite similar teams, in all honesty. I wanted to ask you, what's happened to Udogie? Because I thought he was mint in that first season under Ange, and I hardly see him anymore. Is he injured? Is he gone on loan? What's happened to him?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Injuries. So he's come back in the last 3 weeks. And with the doggy, I view him as a really good player, but it was consistency that was the issue. And I think generally I really like him. But in the first season, he'd come under Ange really good, but it was discipline that was the issue. Then the second season was injuries as well, but also a little bit of a tiny bit of discipline, but more about inconsistency. And this year he's just been injured. And then, like I said to you earlier, there's just something weird with injuries, and it was bad under Ange last year. And because fans don't like Thomas Frank at the moment, they're very anti-Frank. Unfortunately, we've got to that position already. They just go, oh, it's nothing like we had under Ange. And okay, yes, Romero and Van der Ven might not be out for as long as they were, for example, under Ange, but still in that second half against City, we're down to 11 senior players and the full bench of academy players. And realistically, we come back against City, which is great. But just think if we had a few of those players on the bench, I'm like, boom, could we go and beat Man City? Or that's why I was impressed with what we've done against City. But people were just see half the argument. But with a doggy, you're right to raise it. It's frustrating. I think he's a really good player, but it's just this curse in Spurs at the moment where players are getting injured 2 or 3 times a season. And when they're getting injured, like Porro, it's 4 weeks, and then we're getting Kulusevski, Maddison, boom, it's over a year. And it's just a long drag since just come back and 300 plus days out. And what it is they're just playing too many games. They're forced back quickly because of injuries. And something needs to happen because 3 times the medical team's been revamped. Maybe it's a new stadium, the new training ground. There's something not quite right and not adding up. Don't know what.
Yeah. Yes, I see that. And where do you stand on Frank? Because me and my granddad were speaking about this, obviously, as United
Mm.
fans a few weeks ago. And we were saying that realistically, like, we both really liked him at Brentford. And obviously, you look at the amount, like you said, the amount of injuries that Spurs have had. I just don't understand how so many fans can be against him when you've had so many key players out. But At the same time, a lot of them say it's because it's the football, the style of football, and so it's not about the losses. It's the fact that you seem a bit like a mid-table team. That just seems that where you are at the moment, and obviously you're 14th in the league, and it shouldn't be like that for Spurs. You should definitely be in and around the top eight. I mean, I don't want to say it, but you're the champions of the Europa League, which I lost my mind over. I absolutely hated watching that every second of that game. But yeah, I feel like that the change from Ange to Frank is why it's been so negative, I think, because with Ange, even though you were still getting injuries, it was still rock and roll football where Frank is trying to protect you and trying to do the best out of the pieces he's got, where Ange was just basically like, you could say, like a time bomb almost, doesn't care what takes it out as long as he tries and wins, basically. But that's the way I saw it with Ange. And he was for me, I thought Ange was a very likable manager. But as well, you looked at what happened when he went to Forest earlier this season. What he lasted, 40 days or whatever it was. So, yeah, it was bad with. But I feel like with Frank, he can definitely turn it around. I just think he needs some more of his first team players back, personally.
Agree with that. For me, to answer your question initially, I'm behind him, but I'll be honest with you now. I think he's lost about 90 to 95% of total Tottenham fans, which is that's not good. It's extremely disappointing. And what's changed for me is and the reason we're in this situation is the performances as well as the results is the negative football, and fans can part with it when we're winning at the start of the year, but not necessarily now. And games like Chelsea and Arsenal, where the XG is 0.0 something, it's not good, and we're not really showing fight, and it's just really poor. But for me, Frank, it's been honest, but it's hurt him. Every week you talk about Arsenal and we want to achieve to be them, right? And that's like, yeah, imagine, Carrick coming out and saying we want to be like Man City. It doesn't go down well with the fans, even though I know what he means. I know he wants us to be like Arsenal, competing in all competitions. That's what he's saying, but he's a bad communicator in my view. So he stumbled his way to get there and puts things across in the wrong way. And Frank's now taken this approach down where he believes that, we're stuck up to the hierarchy in the board because that'll keep me in the job. And it's worked for him so far. So Romero, for example, comes out with a statement to say that the fact we're down to 11 senior players against City, in his words, was disgraceful and frankly unacceptable and embarrassing. Those were Romero's words on the Instagram statement. And then Frank said, oh, I wouldn't have done it. It's not the right thing to do, for example. So he's very taken the stance of, everything through the hierarchy. That means fans are more against him because he's a very yes man. He's a very puppet man, but it's keeping him popular with the hierarchy. So for me, he says things like, "I've never got criticism to my face, only from fans on social media." And then you had the Arsenal Cup incident, and he goes, "Oh, Tottenham aren't a Champions League club. We finished 17th last year," and then doesn't mention the Europa League bits. He's gone from respecting Ange to disrespecting now. So things he says on top of what we're seeing on the pitch, and then he says like, "Oh, we're in a great position. The majority of performances and results have been really good." And then fans look at it and go, "We're 14th in the table." So what he's saying isn't helping him.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you that. Are you scared of, obviously, because last season you finished 17th? Obviously, you won the Europa League, which got you Champions League football. But obviously, this season, if you finish below the top 10, are you worried as a fan that you might lose some of your better players?
Extremely worried. If I'm honest with you, I worry about even those that commit to long-term contracts in Van der Ven and Romero and Gaston Nadal, a top Argentinian source, about I think 1.1, 1.2 million followers on X. So hugely reliable with any Argentinian players. You'll know that with Martinez, etc. But he came out and said that Romero will leave Tottenham in the summer. Not that he wants to or he's going to try to, that he will. It was really strong language and things like that out of nowhere are concerning. And Dan Romero 5 times since joining the club now has called out the hierarchy. And a few times has been fined privately, publicly, and for a player to say that 5 times, and all the players like it every time on social media, for me that tells you how they feel as a dressing room. So I wish fans would look at that a little bit and go, this isn't just a Frank problem. Frank is getting the criticism because he's saying the wrong things, but again, football's not played in hypotheticals. But let's just say we score an extra goal in every game we play in this year. Boom, we're in the top 4 all of a sudden, and so close we've been getting to that goal. And I just feel like with a couple more players back, it'd be a different situation. But again, it's not an excuse, but maybe a little bit of an explanation. Like Bournemouth, we concede in stoppage time and little things like that. Newcastle, boom. Yeah, just little games that we throw it away late or we just don't help ourselves is a mistake. Like City really poor in the first half, we pull it back in the second. Burnley as well, we're in a winning position, cruising, nearly give it away. And so Frank doesn't help himself. I think he's going to stay till the end of the year regardless. But you can look at it two ways, Dan. You glass half full or half empty. We're at 9 points away from the relegation zone, and we're 10 points away from the European places. So are you negative or you're a positive fan? Realistically, it's tough games are coming up, so you've got to look behind you, but also you want to look ahead. So I am behind him, but I get why he's losing fans, but I wish fans would realise it's not just Frank. Everything's taken out on him. I think he's been given no resources.
The difference is, though, obviously, my manager's already been sacked this season in Ruben Amorim, and I was a very massive advocate of Ruben Amorim. I was hypnotized. I was under some sort of curse and stuff, and I don't know why I backed this guy for so long, because obviously I've heard what you said then about if you got this one more goal in these certain games, you could have been in around the top four and stuff, which is great. What the thing is that after watching the difference between Ruben Amorim to just Fletcher for them first two games, it was night and day. You could just tell like the players liked Amorim, the players wanted to play for Amorim, but they just couldn't play the system. And you look at under Michael Carrick in these first three games. Yeah, it's great when you've won three games in a row. I mean, that guy with the massive hair is probably buzzing right now, ready to book his barber's appointment. But at the same time, it's like United haven't got bad players, but we've been made to look like we've had bad players under Ruben Amorim. And the amount of crap Ruben Amorim did to us, like I thought it was like self-sabotage or something. It's got to be, because at one point when he was asked later last season, can United go down? He was like, we can, but it's not really part of my fault. And we're there like he's actually accepting the fact that United could go down this season. He's still sticking to this bloody formation. And yeah, I feel like that obviously at the end of last season, it was like 55% of United fans wanted Amorim out, but you could say it was just below 50-50 for fans that are still going to back him and give him that first full season and giving him his backing and stuff like that. And then as it got to around October, November time, everyone was there with their hands in the red, like, I can't watch this. I was probably around, yeah, I'd say early December, where I was like, yeah, no, Amorim needs to go for me, because for me, one of the last straws was the Everton game. Everton go down to 10 men, and then they score a goal when they've got 10 men, which is David Moyes' bread and butter. Where if he gets 1-0 up and he's down to 10 men, he will just tell his team to defend, and then that team knows how to defend deep and can see out a result. Where Amorim's first substitution was a defender for a defender, and we're just there like, what the bloody hell is he thinking? That was just the way my take is, and a lot of Spurs fans might be like that with the likes of with Frank. So I can understand, and obviously for me, it did get better as a United fan, but I do like Frank, and I think what he achieved at Brentford was very, very good. And obviously, he didn't win any trophies or anything, but for where Brentford were as a club and now they're established Premier League team, you've got to look at it and you've got to give him respect and time, I think. But yeah, obviously, I'm an outsider, and I can understand why so many Spurs fans are frustrated with Frank.
Dan, thank you. We really appreciate you raising that. Under Carrick, I said there, I like how you just keep going attackingly and how he's got the best. I know he's injured now, but I've to argue for a couple of games, for example, in attacking positions. So Carrick is doing a fantastic job. Dan, before we end, can I get your thoughts and score prediction for the game this weekend? Can you make it 4 wins in a row?
I bloody hope so. My first thought is 3-1. Because I feel like that Spurs is a different test to our last three games. I mean, City tested our passion. Arsenal tested our resilience. Fulham tested our fight. I feel like that Spurs are going to test our control. And I feel like if you can control a game against Spurs with the way you have played recently, you're very, very beatable. So, yeah, but I'll give you that chance. I'll give you that firepower. You'll be up for it. I mean, drawing with Man City might be that boost that your players have got, that belief in Frank, and they might all connect together and they might smash us 4-0. And I really hope that's not the case. But, all it takes is that one game. I mean, Dominic Solanke scored a great goal with that scorpion kick, and it's just them little things. And Javi Seaman's now finding form against City as well in that second half. I mean, I hope United win. I'm going to say 3-1 United, but I do still fear Spurs because of that Europa League final. Obviously, I know it's a lot different teams wise and stuff, but yeah, you've just got to think of games like that. And even at the at your ground earlier this season where United were 1-0 up, obviously this was under Amorim, but then you go 2-1 up and Richarlison takes his shirt off and De Ligt gets a last minute header. So it's like it's one of them. I think Spurs and United have always been a tough game to call, but you've got a good record against us. I don't think we've beaten you a lot in the last few years, so you never know. We'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, I'd say 3-1 United.
Dan, thank you very much. I really appreciate you giving me your time. For people that have forgotten, please do just mention it again. Where can people follow you on social media? Because I wish you, the channel, I know you're not doing it anymore, but still your socials and of course Manchester United, all the best for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's just Dan Talks Football or Dan Talks Footy on Twitter if anyone wants to follow me, which I'd appreciate.
Dan, thank you very much for your time. All the best. Really appreciate it. Thank you so
Cheers,
much.
mate.
And
Enjoyed
no,
it.
thank you. And everyone enjoy the game. It's usually you get a lunchtime kick off on a Saturday, and it's the first game. It's not. It's the second, and it could make or break Tottenham and Manchester United's weekend. But please, if you enjoyed it, do follow Dan. And if you're listening on YouTube, subscribe if you're new. If you listen via audio podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review, and enjoy the game. Thank you, Dan.